Let's take a second right now to have a moment of silence for Washington Mystics owner Shelly Johnson, who suggested that the WNBA as a whole should have been on the cover of Time magazine instead of just Caitlin Clark, who graced the cover last week, which is probably some of the stupidest I've ever heard.
What results from combining record-breaking statistics? The Caitlin Clark effect seems to be the cause of a Time magazine cover and a great deal of traditional envy. But the true question is why everyone, from Matt Barnes to Jim Jackson, is so upset about her success. Some well-known basketball players are speaking out, and boy, did they not hold back. They aren't merely supporting Clark. Rather, they're bringing attention to a larger problem in women's sports. Let's examine what's actually happening.
And has brought a ton of new opportunity, a ton of new eyeballs, and more money to the sport. So instead of downplaying the magnitude of who she is and what she's brought, enjoy the ride and take advantage of the ride.
Caitlin Clark winning the Times Athlete of the Year award should have been a given for women's basketball. But guess what? Some people aren't exactly thrilled about this.
First of all, she's unbelievable talent. You know, the things that she's doing is great in her own right. She's creating her own space, she's doing her own thing.
Imagine a young celebrity smashing records one after another and landing a major magazine cover. It seems like a victory, but not everyone is applauding. Why is Clark receiving such harsh criticism from unexpected sources?
While the NBA's ratings continue to drop over 30%, as they try to figure out who is going to fill the shoes of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry, the WNBA has a golden goose sitting in their league and it's gotten better, but has done everything to kind of discredit the momentum and eyeballs she's brought to this game.
Since it's more relevant than a gossip magazine at the hair salon we're discussing, let's dispel the backlash. Claims of premature promotion, whispers of partiality, and even some scathing remarks from the WNBA itself. Co-owner of the Washington Mystics, Sheila Johnson, isn't holding back when she says that the entire WNBA, not just Clark's remarks about ruling someone's parade, should have received the nod.
Just the structure of the way media plays out race. I'm going to be very honest. I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have. And I think right now, it is time for that to happen.
Johnson goes beyond that, expressing concern that the Clark spotlight may cause animosity within the league. She says, "Oh, can you imagine winning a huge award and having people say it should have gone to everyone else?" She also adds that there are numerous players of color who are equally talented, but never received the recognition they deserve. This drama isn't just Twitter noise.
Over 31% of the Mystics' entire attendance was in 2 games the Caitlin team played against the Mystics. The Sparks, the Aces, the Mystics, the Dream, all moved games when Fever came in town because of the attention that Caitlin and her teammates have drawn that last season. Fever's jersey sales was up 1,000% and attendance was up 250%. And they had the largest attendance on average per year, just over 17,000 per game.
There are serious repercussions for Clark and the league. Johnson is concerned that envy and divisiveness will infiltrate the WNBA, and she is even name-dropping other talents like Angel Reese, who claims that it's not just Caitlin Clark but Reese. Why are people so upset over Clark's success when there is so much untapped talent out there? It turns out to be complicated, but don't worry, we're only getting started. Speaking of starting, let's hear what some well-known basketball figures have to say about it all. I promise that they won't hold back. Are you prepared to hear more?
Let me say this, Caitlin Clark deserves all the flowers. I think she took a lot of it and a lot of skeptics coming into the league, as she should. Like, she had to really prove herself. Missed out on the Olympic opportunity, and really had a lot of hard knocks early on in the season where she was getting beat up and her teammates were just watching her. I think the camaraderie in that locker room grew and that team started playing together and made the playoffs, made a nice little run, and had a solid season.
Okay, so picture this: Matt Barnes, the NBA champion and no stranger to stirring things up, takes the mic, and boy does he have some things to say about Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. You know it's going to be good when Barnes starts talking because, let's face it, he's not just defending Clark, he's attacking the entire WNBA. But why is he not holding back when he says that Clark deserves all the flowers? Yes, all of them, and he's not stopping there. The skeptics who have been disparaging Clark since day one are being called out by Barnes.
So Caitlin is someone who has, if you look at it, done everything you're supposed to do, and has been criticized along every step of the way. Again, she's damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't.
However, this is where things get juicy. The WNBA has a golden goose sitting in their league, and Barnes has done everything in his power to undermine the momentum and attention she has brought to this game. Let's dissect Barnes's argument. He isn't merely making fun of her. He is discussing the impact of the numbers and, yes, a little bit of that classic locker room. Genuine conversation. Barnes notes that Clark has been attracting fans and creating hype, but he believes the league is seriously failing to take advantage of this.
They're doing an amazing job with, like you said, telling the story. And the players are actually doing their thing when they get there,
yes,
too. You know, like you mentioned, these couple of players, but Caitlin being the one that we're speaking about right now, she is kicking everybody's ass, really.
You are aware of what actually has Barnes brought up the CRIISM from Sheila Johnson, co-owner of the Washington Mystics, who recalled that the WNBA as a whole, not only Clark, should have won Athlete of the Year. Barnes isn't having.
When you see the people say it's not just her, there's other players, and again, we're not distracted. We understand that the depth of talent in that league, but when you also see the numbers that back up the fact that Caitlin has a huge effect. Caitlin Clark is responsible for nearly 27% of the WNBA's league-wide activity in 2024, including attendance. 1 in 6 tickets sold at the WNBA arena attributed to Caitlin Clark. TV viewership was up 30%. TV viewership was up 300% with Caitlin Clark.
But here's the thing: Barnes is not merely making disparaging remarks. He has some really good ideas for promoting fan interaction and the game's future. He is also posing pertinent queries. Why are they allowing this chance to pass them by, and why isn't the league doing more to promote its brightest star?
If we had to compare from what we've seen from the NBA, it would, in her effect, probably something similar to Larry Bird.
Now, you may be wondering, well, but isn't this just another guy talking about women's sports fair? But persevere, because Barnes is revealing the truth everywhere. He's not just speaking as an ex-player, he's speaking as someone who understands the sports industry. By implying that the WNBA may be undermining its own success story, Barnes is essentially stating that the league is hurting itself by not fully embracing Clark and the attention she's attracting. That's not simply a hot opinion, however.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You know, they continue to push the game to the next level, you know, and you look at where the NBA was and now where the NBA is at now. And although everyone doesn't agree with the style of play, these guys have taken it to the next level as far as the business of basketball. Right. And I think that's what Caitlin will affect, is the business of women's basketball, man. So we wish them the best. Definitely excited to see these upcoming seasons and these women continue to do their thing.
Let's see what another NBA veteran has to say about this entire situation, because if Barnes's remarks are any indication, this debate is far from over. All right, people, let's talk about Jim Jackson. Barnes isn't the only one speaking up, though. This conversation is just getting started, and more voices are joining the chorus. This former NBA player, who is now an analyst, isn't just putting himself out there. He's throwing his entire wardrobe into the fray and has some interesting opinions about WNBA player Caitlin Clark.
Congratulations to Caitlin Clark for being named Time Athlete of the Year. I get why people are so upset. I'm a basketball player and a basketball fan. There's a lot of dynamics and a lot of layers to this thing when it deals with Caitlin Clark. But I will say that this is just my opinion. It's certain people, I don't care if you're black, white, Spanish, from Europe, it doesn't matter, that have it, that draw something, okay? And Caitlin is one of those.
What is Jackson's point of view, then? It's all about the green baby, not the court. We're talking about actual money, or marketability as the lawsuits like to call it. Here, Jackson doesn't mince words when he says that Clark has that unique quality that makes people watch and pay attention.
People, keep in mind, this is a business. When Nike signs a athlete, okay, they want to get an ROI, return on their investment. How do they do that? Because that athlete resonates. You understand that Caitlin Clark, her jerseys, her apparel, if she has an apparel deal, her shoes will sell.
This is when the exciting part begins. As you may have heard, Jackson is comparing Clark to other WNBA legends, and his conclusion, let's just say it's upsetting some people, is that Clark is more marketable than A'ja Wilson, the current WNBA court president.
Caitlin may not beat, A'ja Wilson is the best player in the WNBA, but Caitlin is more marketable because people tend to resonate. I don't care, black, white, whatever it may be. And now there is a race component to it. It always will be in some regards, okay? But the player itself, the person, what she was able to do, how she resonated, how she drew eyes to the TV.
Getting into Jackson's analysis, we can see that he is discussing star power fan involvement, the complex subject of racism and sports marketing, and more. Jackson is also not bashful about it.
I don't agree with the Mystics owner saying that the whole WNBA should have been named that, because that's not true. The whole WNBA benefited this year from the viewership increase.
You know who else Jackson believes possesses that unique taste? Curry, Steph, yes, he is making comparisons between Clark and Golden Boy of the NBA. Jackson notes,
the reason why Steph Curry, who may not be the best player, okay, in the NBA, but he draws differently. He draws different. He can be marketed differently than other players. It's some players who may be considered better, maybe a Kevin Durant. But the market, to market Kevin Durant is a lot different than marketing Steph Curry. People resonate with Steph Curry a lot more than a KD.
Jackson isn't just talking about Clark. He's painting a larger picture of the NBA's future by pointing out how Clark's college performance boosted the league as a whole. That's right, we're talking about rising tides lifting all boats here. It's not just about being the best on the court. It's also about connecting with fans off it.
There's some other players that get deals, men and women, okay, that have signature shoes that despite how good they are as a player, great as they are as a player, they don't move product because it doesn't resonate. It doesn't translate.
You may be asking yourself, is this really about basketball anymore? Because, in Jackson's opinion, selling the game is more important than just playing it, and Clark is selling like crazy.
What translates is when Caitlin Clark came into the league and 30,000 jerseys were already ordered, that the Indiana Fever, the season tickets were already sold out. When you go on the road to the Mystics and they have to change the venue in which it's going to be played to play, you know, where the Wizards play, okay, on a couple of occasions. It's only certain people that do that. Whether you like Caitlin or not, are you interested? If you're a ball player, it's certain aspects you got to love about Caitlin's game.
We've heard from the players, but what about the league itself? What is the WNBA saying about all of this? Well, that's where it gets really interesting. We've heard from NBA veterans, fans, and critics regarding Caitlin Clark's time as an Athlete of the Year, but the WNBA itself has been oddly silent.
Know well enough that in 1984, when Michael Jordan came into the NBA, the ratings in the NBA were not great. Chicago Stadium was, a third full. He's getting the lion's share of the attention. The games are now getting all of his games are on TV. And he just was a polarizing figure. And Tiger Woods was like that when he went to the PGA as well. He changed the total economics of golf the same way Michael Jordan changed the financial economics of the NBA.
Let's establish the scene. You would think the WNBA would be shouting from the rooftops, popping champagne, and organizing parades, but instead they're crickets. What's going on behind those closed doors at WNBA headquarters? This rookie phenomenon is breaking records, drawing in crowds by the truckload, and making headlines everywhere. Doesn't it sound like a marketer's dream? Some people claim that silence talks louder than words. Are we seeing jealousy politics or something else entirely? Sheila Johnson, co-owner of the Washington Mystics, stated that she believes that excluding Clark causes animosity within the league, which is why the WNBA is keeping him.
idea of some players being jealous, yes, that probably exists. Okay. To me, yeah, jealous, sure. I mean, would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million a shoe deal or whatever the deal is before you step foot in the pro?
You may be thinking that they are simply giving Clark a nice moment, but the truth is that the league's silence may be doing more harm than good, and it's not just Clark who is feeling cold. The entire situation is drawing attention to some more serious problems in the WNBA. So, where does this leave us? And more importantly, where does it leave us? Caitlin Clark, the NBA, has a huge opportunity here, but they're not taking advantage of it. Johnson is concerned about hurting people's feelings, but isn't that precisely what this tacit treatment is doing?
She's doing, rating-wise for the WNBA, what Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry have been doing for the NBA.
As Clark prepares for the 2025 WNBA season, keep your eyes on her. However, the real action that's taking place in the league offices could make or break the future of the game, according to experts. Clark's success could open doors for other players, but will they ride the rising tide? Keep in mind that sometimes the biggest plays happen when the clock isn't running. What do you think the WNBA will do next? Let us know in the comments, like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss it. We'll see you in the next one after you click the video on the screen.